The relationship between humans and nature has become somewhat strange over time. While some deforest and burn forests, for example, others campaign for the preservation of this environment. Despite this confusion, there are unbelievable stories in some parts of the world, like the one we're about to see today. A she-wolf gave her baby to a man, and he did something incredible. Give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let's dive in. This story revolves around an older man with the surname Boris. He lives in a small town surrounded by lush green forests. There, dense woods house a variety of wild animal species. As a result, the inhabitants of that area practically coexist with these creatures. It's something natural, nothing out of the ordinary, especially for Boris, who has always shown affection for fauna and flora. Throughout his life, he has consistently opposed deforestation and animal cruelty. He is a genuinely good person, and everyone in the community loves him. It was customary for him to take walks through the forest, not only to appreciate the beauty around him but also to carry out various tasks, such as searching for food, for example. On an ordinary day, there was Boris with his rifle in hand, searching for food. But wait, why was he carrying a rifle? Didn't we say he loved animals? Does that mean he hunts? Although that wouldn't be absurd, the truth is no. Boris used to take his rifle into the woods to protect himself in case of an attack by a wild beast or something of the sort. He knew he needed to defend himself, even though he didn't consider the forest a very dangerous place. That day seemed ordinary like any other, but something happened that Boris never could have imagined. He was gathering mushrooms to make a delicious stew. However, at a certain point, he started hearing strange noises, like small dogs barking and crying at the same time. Boris grew concerned and began desperately searching for the source of the sound. He deduced that he needed to do something to help whatever was making those distressing noises. A little further ahead, he discovered that the noise came from a group of small wild wolves trapped under a heavy log. Without much thought, Boris freed the animals, setting them free once again. It was then that he got a massive shock. The man hadn't noticed yet, but behind that log stood a gigantic adult she-wolf. In that moment, he thought it was the end for him. However, he soon realized that she was the mother of the rescued cubs and was concerned for their well-being. Cautiously, he stepped back, gradually increasing the distance between them. Contrary to what Boris expected, the she-wolf didn't attack him. She simply stood there, right in front of him, as if she, too, was waiting for him to make a move. At that moment, it was as if the wolf and the man connected in their minds. They both understood that neither intended harm but rather sought to help in whatever way they could. It was as if Boris had literally merged with the nature around him. Still showing some caution, the she-wolf let her guard down and approached the cubs that had been rescued by Boris. Afterward, she turned towards the forest, indicating that it was time to leave. However, she made an unusual gesture, as if inviting the man to follow her. At least, that's what Boris deduced, and since he had nothing to doubt, he followed the animal through the middle of the forest. What did the she-wolf want to show him? Boris didn't think much and continued following the animal wherever it was leading him. At a certain moment, after walking for a few minutes, they arrived at the den of the she-wolf, where some other cubs were already waiting for their mother. And among all these animals, one of the cubs appeared weaker. He could barely lift himself from his spot. That's when Boris understood everything. The she-wolf had brought him there to save the life of her cub. Indeed, man and wolf had understood each other in that moment. Even without speaking the same language and despite being different species. The little wolf in the den was so sickly that he struggled even to breathe. To Boris' surprise, the mother wolf picked up the ailing cub and placed him right beside his own. The man knew that the little animal didn't have much time left, so he quickly left the forest and headed towards the nearest veterinarian who would know how to treat the illness. The wolf cub spent several days in the care of the veterinarian, and after some time, he finally became well enough to be discharged. To recover in the best possible way, Boris took him to his own home. During the time they spent together, the cub and the man formed a deep and sincere bond of friendship, becoming attached to each other. The wolf even became a part of the family as a beloved pet. Boris named him Lopa, and he never even considered taking him away. It may not seem like it, but a lot of time has passed since the time he went to the veterinarian until now, when he started living with Boris. Several months, to be more precise. The wolf started growing bigger and bigger, and the inhabitants of the village where Boris lived began to complain. They said that Lopa was a danger to everyone. After all, it was impossible not to notice that he was a wild animal. It was with a heavy heart that Boris made a decision. He knew exactly what he had to do. The man left his house accompanied by the wolf. This time, he knew it would be their last walk together. He went to a certain place deep into the woods and bid farewell to his companion, releasing him and heading back home. However, it was at that moment that Boris had a great surprise. Still in the woods, Boris saw smoke rising from the village where he lived. He quickened his pace to find out what was happening. His body trembled when he saw that it was his own house engulfed in flames. He didn't wait for help and, alone, tried to extinguish the fire that had already consumed the entire structure of the house. The flames were too large to be contained by someone without the right tools. What happened next? Boris simply doesn't remember because he passed out. All that comes to his mind is being inside an ambulance with the paramedics and firefighters who had come to the scene. He probably fainted after inhaling a large amount of smoke. But the man passed out inside his burning house. So how did he manage to make it to the ambulance? That was Boris' question too. And knowing that the firefighters had arrived quickly, he thanked them for saving his life. However, one of the firefighters said to Boris, "Actually, we didn't save you. We used some methods to help you with the smoke inhalation, but we didn't get you out of the fire. It was several wolves that surprised us by dragging you out of the burning house." Boris was very intrigued and started asking for details about the wolves that had saved him. After hearing the accounts from the nurses and firefighters, he deduced that he had been saved by Lopa, his former pet, his mother she-wolf that he had seen just over a year ago, and also Lopa's siblings, who were once just cubs. Boris was both happy and incredulous at the same time. Surely, this was the purest act of kindness he had ever received in his life. He was amazed to think that wild animals were capable of showing such empathy. As for Boris' house, it took a while, but it was completely restored. After that, his life returned to normal. Boris never saw those wolves again, but he tells this story to everyone he meets. So, what did you think of this story? If you liked it, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.